Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Kesubos Chavtes. We begin a brand new perek, the third perek Elu Naris. So the Torah speaks about a fellow who was involved inappropriately with an Isha. We penalize him to the extent that A, he must pay a fine, 50 shekalim, and number 2, he must at least offer to accommodate her by offering to marry her. So Oines would constitute a forced involvement, mefata, convinced until she acquiesces. Says the Mishnah, Elu na'aris, sheyesh lehen knas. In the following cases, an involvement with a nara is a term for an isha who had achieved adulthood. She's past 12. She's exhibited signs of maturity. That's a nara until she becomes a begeres, which is 6 months later. So that na'ara period is the window of opportunity, so to speak, regarding this halacha. So oines mafata only applies to a na'ara. The Mishnah will provide many examples of na'aros where the halacha of knas does apply. And each one will have a chiddush. In some cases, really, he may not marry her. She's usher to him. In some cases, she's even an erva, which would result in kares. And still, the Mishnah maintains that an oines and nafata, forced or seduced involvement with this isha, would generate the halacha of the knas. He's penalized to the point that he has to pay his penalty. Says the Mishnah, Elu na'aris sheyesh lehen knas. In the following cases, knas applies. Haba ala mamzeres. He was involved with an isha who was a mamzeres. So even theoretically, he can't marry her. It's a lav. You're not allowed to marry a mamzer. So I would think perhaps since he can't really follow through, we can't apply the entire procedure. We explained there are two parts to the penalization, application here. There's the monetary part, you have to pay up, and you have to marry her. In this case, you can't really fulfill the second part. You can't marry her. Still, the financial aspect would apply. He has to pay the knas. So we have many examples of Balam Zeres, Valanasina. This is the nation of the Givoinim, which are usher to intermarry with hers. Valakusis, who went through a questionable conversion. Again, we're not allowed to marry them. In all these cases, even though there's an isser to marry, it does not absolve him of his financial obligations. Here comes another set of examples, which are chidushim on their own right. Haba halagiris. So we speak about a nara. We must point out that knas only applies to a nara who has a besula, who had her hymen membrane intact, in which case she's a full-fledged besula, but let's say she's not a besula, there's no knas. What about Habala Giyeris? He was involved with an Isha who converted. Vala Shvuya, she was captured and then came back. Vala Shivcha, she had been a maidservant and now released. But all these things occurred underage. Sheniftu, they were redeemed from captivity. Shenishtgairu, in the case of the Giyeris, she converted. Vishenishtachru, she was released from slavery. But they occurred very young. It occurred before they turned 3 in a day, in which case, even if there was some sort of physical interaction with somebody out there, we have a full reason to believe there was, a guy, etc. But if they came back while they were still at this young and tender age, below 3 in a day, even if the besulim were removed, we assume that it was regenerated, in which case she's considered a full-fledged besula, in which case the concept of knas would apply if somebody would involve himself with this isha ba'oines or in pitui. Here comes another set of cases, which are all arayas, and the chiddush here is not only can't he marry them if he wants to, but it's kares. Still, it does not absolve him of payment. Habala he gets involved with his own sister. Father's sister. Mother's sister. His wife's sister. The wife of his brother. Now, we have to point out, Rashi points this out, since she has to be a besula, you can't be speaking about a Isha Sachiv who was married to his brother, in which case she's not a Basula. Rather, Rashi says she was just engaged to him. And now she was divorced. She's still a Nara Basula, but since she was engaged to his brother, involving himself with her would generate kares. Another example of the same halacha would be about Ishas Achi Aviv, his father's brother's wife, Valanida, or Isha who's a Nida. In all these cases, if one involves himself forcefully ba'inus or pitoy, yesh lahem knas. Knas would apply. He's penalized financially, and the chiddush is afal pi shein b'ikaris. Even though this involvement generates karis, ein bahen misas bezin. Still, he has to pay up because there is no misas bezin. The halacha is that if bezin applies misa, should there be a misas bezin, like an example of an Eishes ish, there's misas bezin. In that case, we have the halacha called kimlei, but the rabamine. This fellow generated two liabilities. He gets misas bezin, plus he has to pay up. No. He gets the most severe treatment. He's put to death and he's putter from payment. But that only applies when Bezdin is involved in applying the penalty. But if his involvement generated curse, that's between him and Hashem. It's not our business. And therefore, it will not absolve him from his monetary obligations. He has to pay up. Let's go to Rashi. Back on top. Elu Naris, says Rashi. Naris is Dafka Nara, which is that period between adulthood and 6 months later. Dafka Nara Mishivir Shtei Saris, when she shows the Shtei Saris of adulthood, Achet Boga, until she achieves full adulthood. And that's merely a 6-month window. Vehem Shisha Chadashim, Shebei Naris Labakros, Aval Ketano Begeres. But if she's below that age or above that age, Ein Lam Knas, there is no Knas. What is the Knas? Says Rashi, Sheish Lam Knas. Im'an Sa'adam, if a fellow involve himself forcefully with her, Noisen La'aviyach Mishim Kesef, he pays 50 Kesef to her father, that's his privilege, his father, the father's right to collect that money. K'dichsiv, as the Pasuk says, if Nasna Isha Sheichev, he gives her father 50. And the Mishnah gives us a full list of possibilities. Habal Mamzeres. And the Gemara will ask, why are you starting with Nashim that are puzzle? Speak about an ordinary Isha. The Gemara Parach Avak Sheris Loi. The Knas of Oines doesn't apply to a regular Isha, only if there's another problem involved. Umashani, the Gemara answers, no, of course it applies to a conventional Isha, but there's a Chiddush here. Psulis, it's Strichel, Yashmin, the Mishnah is just trying to highlight a Chiddush that even though the concept of Knas entails a two-part system, payment and marriage here cannot be fulfilled, you would think he's Pater, no. Whatever we can get out of him, we get out of him. Actually, we learn it from a pasuk, as we're going to see later. So, first example is Mamzeres, where there's a lav, and Nasina. Second example, that's Nasina min ha-Giv'onim, from the Giv'onim nation. V'hasur l'kol, she may not intermarry with the community. The David Gazra Aleim, as per David HaMelech's decree, Kedamrinam b'Yevamos, V'al Shem. Why were they called Nasinim? They were Giv'onim. So Rashi says, Al Shem v'yitneim Yeshua chayt v'etzim shevemayim. Karlu Nasinim, since Yeshua designated them as wood choppers and water carriers, so Vayitnei Melashon of Nasinim, set aside. Third example is Kusis, which is also Asr. Kasavar Gera Rayasem, we could not consider them proper Geras. V'yeshnam Balav Loitaschatin, since they're considered non-Jews, there's a lav of don't marry. The middle clause in the Mishnah speaks about women who are really allowed to marry this man, but there's a question regarding their Besulim status, because they have a whole history. Valashvuya, she was once captured, Yisraela Sheniftis Pchusa, but it happened underage. Pchusa mibas Sholei Shonim Bechaskas Besulhi. She's considered a Besula. Why? Shafilu Nivala Beshivya, even if she had an experience during that captivity, rest assured that Besula, a Chayzer and Besulim regenerated. A third set of cases in the Mishnah is Karish related incidents. Valeshas Achiv got involved with Eshes Achiv. As we explained, she was not married to his brother, in which case she would already be a non-Besula, but she was only engaged to him. Vigish, and then he divorced her. So she's not really a married woman, in which case she would be an Eshes Ish, so there would be Mrs. Bezdin. We're looking to avoid Mrs. Bezdin, right? So she was just engaged to his brother and then divorced. She retains that status of Erva. She'ein ba Misa, there's no Misa, of course, but there is Karis. Another example, again, she was engaged to him, Vigirsha. In all these cases, there is curse. They're very severe. But it does not interfere with his chi of knas. Harei, ein b'hem misas bezdin. V'koreis le'potalei minat tashlumin. The chi of kares, as severe as it may be, does not interfere with the chi of tashlumin. Asks the Gemara. We're looking for a list of naris, which generate knas. Hani naris psulis? Islu knas? Only naris who are puzzle to him? Mamzeres, nasina, kus? Only there do we have knas. Ksheris lay? What about a regular isha? Hachikam, of course. The Mishnah is just trying to highlight a chiddush. Elu naris psulis. Sheishlam knas? Of course, a na'ara kshera has knas. Chiddush is even an isha who you cannot marry. Still there's knas. And we have the list. Havala mamzeres. Vala nasina, vala kusis. Nara in. It's clear from the Mishnah. Only a 12-year-old gets knas. Katana loy, but below that age, there is no knas. Whose shita is this? Mantana, who's speaking? Omar Vida Marav, Rabbi Meir. That's Rabbi Meir's shita, who holds that Iktana does not generate knas. The Sanya. Here comes Rabbi Meir. Ktana, Iktana, from 1 day old until 12, until she has a shtei saris, until she's an adult, yesh la mecher. Father has the right to sell her as an amma, as a maidservant. That's his right at that point. Ve'en lo knas, but if one involves himself with this isha ba'oines or ba'pitoy, there is no knas. Once she becomes a gdoila v'ashati bugger until 6 months later, when she's a begeres, at that point, knas kicks in, but mecher goes out. Yesh lo knas, ve'en lo mecher. Father can no longer sell her, but there is knas. Divid Rav Meir. That's one or the other. Shayr Meir Eimer, kol malkam sheyesh mecher. When she's still very young, father can sell, and knas, there is no knas. But once she achieves adulthood and there's knas in the picture, and mecher, he can no longer sell her, it's one or the other. No, it isn't linked. Even a young girl, from 3 and up, 3 is the minimum age for the potential physical interaction, until she becomes a begeres, knas applies. So they're holding that even a ketana would have knas. Asks the Gemara, only knas? What about mecher? They seem to be saying that only knas applies when she's a youngster. Knas in, only knas applies. Mecher lay, but her father can't sell. How could that be? It's a pasuk. Ema, rather it means like this. Av knas b'makam mecher. It means to say, of course mecher applies. But even knas applies at that young age. It's our Mishnah which maintains that a nara, and only a nara, has knas. That's shitas Rabbi Meir. Now let's go back to the ikar chiddush of the Mishnah, which is that even a mamzeres, a kusis, and a sina, even a rayis, whom one cannot marry. And marriage, as we explained, is an integral part of the penalization process. It's part of the einish. Pay up and marry. Still, even though you cannot fulfill the second aspect of your punishment, you have to pay up. Why? V'hani b'nei knas aninu? Why is there a knas in all these cases? V'amai. Ikri kana v'lo yitiyah isha. Let's apply the pasuk. She's meant to be his wife. Isha horu yaloi, only if she's suitable for him. If you can't fulfill that directive, you don't get involved in penalizing this fellow. It's all or nothing. Amar Shlakish, no, it's not all or nothing. Nara, nara, ha-nara. We have a ribu, an extra expression in the Torah. Because the Torah first says, Ki yimtza ish nara, and then the Torah again repeats, Lavi ha-nara. The second ha-nara is extra, and within that word we have 2 extra expressions. The whole word is extra, and it could have said nara, it didn't have to say ha-nara. So we have 2 extra expressions, for a total of 3. Nara, nara, and then the ha-nara of that second word. What are they teaching us? To include this type of case. Chad l'gufei, the first nara, for its own sake. An isha kshera, whom this fellow can marry, he must pay and marry. V'chad, and the next expression, lasuye chayav elavin, is coming to include even an isha, with whom his interaction would generate a lot. Still, pay up. V'chad, lasuye chayav krisis. A third expression is even to include a chayav krisis. Rav Papa Amar, I'll give you another source for this halach. Because by the mafata, you see the first pasuk we mentioned, Nara, Rish Lakish's pasuk, was by the oines, a forced involvement. Rav Papa learns from the pasuk by mafata, the coerced involvement. There as well it says basula, and then it says ha basulas. So Besula is one. Then it says Besulis again, but not only that, it says Ha Besulis. So it's a double extra expression. So once again, we have three references. What for? Chad Lugufei, one for its own sake, an ordinary conventional case. V'chad L'asui Chayav Lavin. The second one is to include an Isha, where there's a lav involved. V'chad L'asui Chayav Krisis, and one to include even a Kurz situation. So that's the answer to our question. Typically, this fellow has to pay a fine and marry. But even if marriage is not an option, why? Because she's usher to him on account of a lav, or usher to him on account of Kurz. Still, he'll pay the fine. So Rish Lakish learned from Nara, Rav Papa learned from Besula. Why did each one prefer his approach rather than the other one's approach? Rav Papa my timer, or Yamak Rish Lakish. Why didn't Rav Papa go with Rish Lakish's Rivi from Nara? Because that's already been used for a different halach. Look at Abaye. For Abaye's halach. Then Abaye. Ba'aleh o Mesa, Pater. Suppose this fellow involved himself with a Nara, and before he got a chance to pay up, she passed away. He no longer pays to her father Shenema because of this pasuk. V'nasan lavi hanara. The second mentioning of hanara is coming to tell us only if the nara is alive and well. Lavi nara. He pays the father of the existing nara. V'loy lavi mesa, as opposed to the father of a nara who's no longer here. That pasuk is coming to tell us this halacha and not available for our halacha and our sukkah. V'rish lagish my taima. Papa. Likewise, why did Rish Lakish prefer his route, Nara Hanara, rather than Rav Papa from Besulas? Answer: that's already needed for another halacha. Look at the Zera Shava. It's coming for the Zera Shava to connect Oynes to Mafata, to learn one from the other pertaining to the halachas of payment. How much? What type of currency to pay? The Sanya, as we had in the Brisa, actually back in Daf Yud. So the pasuk speaks about this Mafata, the fellow who seduced the Isha, pay up. Kesev yishkol k'mar psulis. He has to pay a psula payment, the payment for the psulim that he removed. Why does the pasuk refer to it in this manner? The pasuk here is alluding to the oynes who pays as well, and we're connecting the payment of the mafata and linking it to the payment of the oynes. Shehei zeh k'mar psulis. The payment of the mafata resembles the payment of the oynes. Likewise, we make a double connection. The payment of the oynes is similar in fashion, similar in nature to the payment of the mafata. Rashi explains. The payment of the mafata is 50, just like the payment of the oynes, where it says the number 50. And likewise, the payment of the oynes is 50 shekalim, like we find by mafata, where the pasuk speaks about shekal. So they sort of learn from each other. So that's what the pasuk is coming to teach us. Hapsulos is coming to teach us how much to pay, how to pay, and is unavailable for our halach. Asks the Gemara, okay, now we have a problem on our hands. Rish Lakish, who learned from Hanara, Nami mi boilik Abaye. Doesn't he need that pasuk for Abaye's halach? That he no longer pays to the father when the daughter died. And likewise, Rav Papa, who learned from Hapsulos, Nami mi boilik Zera Shava. Doesn't he need Hapsulos to teach us Zera Shava? How much to pay and how? Ella says, the Gemara, you're right. We need more psukim. Shita kroik sivi. We have a total of 6 psukim. Let's sort of bundle together both the Hanara and the Hapsulis. We'll have a total of 6, right? We have 3 on each side. Let's put it together. Nara. That's the first time it mentions Nara. That's 1. Then it mentions the word Hanar again, which is sort of split into 2 expressions. We have the Nara and the Hanara part. So it's 1, 2, 3. Then we have Hapsules. So the first time it says Besula, and then it repeats Hapsules. Hapsules is really a double expression, because it could have just said Psules. It said Hapsules. So it gives us a double extra expression. So it's a total of 3 on this side and 3 on that side. Right? Nara, Hanara, that's by the Oynes. Psula, Psules, Hapsules, that's by the Mafat. Total of 6 to work with. Trelu Gufay. So one mentioning of Nara and one mentioning of Besula, that's for its own sake. Nara is for the Oynes, Besula is for the Mafat. Okay, that's off the table. Checked off. The next one by the Oynes, Nara, for Abaye is halacha. The Nara has to be around for the Chiyuv to kick in. Right? He only pays the father when it's Aviyah Nara. V'chalik Zera Shava. Let's go to Mafata. The extra word Besulis is coming to connect Mafata to the Oynes to teach us how much he pays, and in what form. So we used up 1, 2, 3, 4. We're left with 5 and 6. Iyatrid lu'trei. So we have 2 more expressions. Chad la'asui chayiv alavin, v'chad la'asui chayiv krisis. Perfect. 1 to include involvement with an isha, where it entails lav, a mamzeres, a kusis, a nesina, and 1 to include even an isha, where it involves karis, isha sachav, etc. By the way, the Mefarshim point out, actually it's Tosfos, that isha sachav is obviously speaking about an isha sachav who had children. Otherwise, it would be yibum, it wouldn't be karis. Bottom line is, our Mishnah is highlighting all these halachas in this one Mishnah. There are 3 parts to the Mishnah. In the first, we have examples of chayavi lavin, mamzeres, nesina, kusis. Still, he has to pay up. Why? We have a pasuk. In the last clause of the Mishnah, we have more severe cases, chayavi krisis, and still, he's penalized. He has to pay his 50 shkolim, and again, we learn it from the pasuk. And we have the middle case, where the chiddush is since they had lost their psulim when they were still underage, they regained it and they're considered a psulim. So bottom line is, our Mishnah holds that even though he cannot really carry out the second part of his obligations, he can pay, but he can't marry this isha. Still, the Torah tells us he has to pay. Ulafuki ma'itana, and this is in dispute of the following brisa, which maintains either you fulfill all your obligations, payment and marriage, or nothing at all. So in all these examples, where he cannot go ahead and marry this isha, she's usher to him, he's absolved from payment as well. The concept of knas doesn't apply. Where do we have this shita? The Sanya, the Brisa says, "V'lo yitiyah isha." He pays, and she's his wife. So he proceeds to marry her. Shimna timni aimer, isha sheyesh b'havaya. It only applies to an isha who he can halachically engage and marry, as opposed to an erva, a sister. You can't marry a sister, in which case knas doesn't apply. Rabbi Shimon ben Nasya Imer, he puts it a bit differently. Isha haru'iyaloi l'kaima. Knas only applies if the isha in question is somebody that he can legally hold on to, which sounds like a replication of the previous shita, right? No, big difference here. My benai, what's the difference between Shimon and Timni, who said it needs to be an isha who he can theoretically be mekadosh, and Rav Shimon ben Nasya, who presented it a bit differently? It has to be an isha with whom he can have a marriage, with whom he can hold on to. What's the difference? Big difference. Let's say you have an isha who he's not allowed to marry, but kedushin would take hold. There is such a case, like a lav. Right? Typically a chayavi lavin, kedushin is chal, according to most shitas, but he's not allowed to stay married with her. So that will be the difference. According to Shimon HaTimni, it's yesh b'havaya. Theoretically, kedushin can apply to this isha, and therefore knas applies. Whereas according to Reb Shimon ben Menasya, no, it's not roy l'kaima. He's not allowed to hold on to her, so it's not applicable. My benas, what's the difference? This case, Amar Abzeir and Amzeris and Asina, you can benayu. L'man da Amar Ish b'havaya. According to Reb Shimon HaTimni, all depends on the potential for kedushin. Hanami yesh b'havaya. Here we have potential for kedushin, and therefore it applies. L'man da Amar roy l'kaima. According to the other shita, she has to be mutter to him. Well, not in this case. Ha, ain't a roy l'kaima. He can't hold on to her, so he's potter. Asks the Gemara, but let's remember we have Rabbi Akiva's shita, that even when it's a mamzeres and a sina, it only involves lav, kedushin doesn't work. Or the Rabbi Akiva the Amar ein kedushin toifsin b'chayev lavin. According to him, even a chayev lavin, an isha, where there's a lav, kedushin cannot be applied. So now a mamzeres and a sina is not only usher to him, but he cannot even be mekadosher. So we're looking for a case where kedushin would apply, but she's still usher. We have no such case, according to Rabbi Akiva. My benayo, so then what's the difference between the two shitas and the brisa? Again, we're looking for a case where she's usher, but kedushin would still apply, and that would be the nafkamina. According to Rabbi Akiva, if she's usher, there's no kedushin. Not always. Ikar benayo, the case would be like this: Almana l'kayin gadol. Almana may not marry a Kohen Gadol, right? It's a lav. But this isn't your conventional lav. It's limited to Kohanim, right? In fact, only to the Kohen Gadol. It's a very limited lav. In this case, even according to Rabbi Akiva, although she's usher to him, but technically, if he applies Kedushin to her, it works. So that's the case we're looking for. Rabbi Simoy, as Rabbi Simoy tells us, the son, Rabbi Simoy Oimer, Mina Koil Oise, Rabbi Akiva Mamzerim. In all inappropriate relationships, Rabbi Akiva considers the child a mamzer, and as Taisus explains, the fact that an offspring of this union is a mamzer is indicative of the fact that Kedushin is inapplicable. So Rabbi Akiva takes a very severe, strict approach. He says any lav union creates mamzer, any lav union cannot have Kedushin, except if it's a limited type of lav, a Kohen-related lav. Chutz ma'almana l'Kohen Gadol. How do I know this? How do I know that it's different? A lav is a lav. No. Sharei Amar Torah, the pasuk clearly tells us there's no mamzer from this interaction. Lo yikach v'leichal. A Kohen Gadol should not marry an almana, lest he be mechalal his offspring, make them chalala, deficient kohanim. Chilulun noisa. We learn from this pasuk. The child is a chalal, ve'ein oisa mamzer, but not a mamzer. The Torah is clearly telling us this type of kahuna-related lav doesn't have the same weight as an ordinary lav, like a mamzer, like a kusis, like a nesina. So here we have an example of an isha who, even according to Rabbi Akiva, who takes a very strict approach to mamzeres and to tfisat kedushin, even he will agree that although the almana is usher to the Kohen Gadol, but theoretically, technically, kedushin can be applied in this case, and that's the case we're looking for. Asks the Gemara, 1 second. Rabbi Yeshevav. But Rabbi Yeshevav tells us otherwise. He says that even this type of kahuna-related lav generates a mamzer, and there's no kedushin according to Rabbi Akiva. So again, we have no example of something which is usher and still kedushin would work. Rabbi Yeshevav the Amar. Rabbi Yeshevav says, "Bayu netzaveach al Akiva ben Yosef." Let's yell out on Rabbi Akiva. Rashi says 2 lines from the bottom. Why are we yelling? Rashi says, "Shemar b'mamzerim b'Yisrael chinam." Look, he's increasing. He's needlessly increasing mamzerim amongst Klal Yisrael. Shayaimer, he took a very broad approach to mamzerus. He used to say, "Kol shein lo bi b'Yisrael avad mamzer." Any sort of forbidden interaction, any sort of lav, Almana l'Kohen Gadol creates a mamzer. And as we explained in the name of Taisus, when there's mamzer, there's no kedushin. My b'nai. So again, we're stuck. We're looking for an example, a case which would be an afkamina between the two shittas and the brayos. We're looking for a case of an isha who on the one hand is aser, but on the other hand has kedushin. Almana l'Kohen Gadol, according to Rabbi Akiva, no kedushin. Now, here's the example. What about an isha where there's only an isser asay, not a lois asay, only an asay. So she's aser, but there is tfisas kedushin. Mitzri ve'adoimi, right? So an Egyptian, an Edomite coming in, the Klal Yisrael, within the first 3 generations, there was an asay donor to marry. So there's an isser asay, but kedushin theoretically would work. So here's your example of kedushin but isser. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? According to according to one approach in the Gemara, even a isser asay, according to Rabbi Akiva, would have no kedushin. So there goes our nafkamina. Hanicha, this works. Rabbi Yeshevav. If you learned that Rabbi Yeshevav, who just sort of complained, and Rabbi Akiva says, well, he's being so broad in his application. If ila fuki mitaima the Rabbi Simoy kaasi. If, you see, Rabbi Yeshevav was sort of referring back to the previous shita. Let's go back here. We have Rabbi Simoy, who said that any type of lav interaction, according to Rabbi Akiva, we treat it very severely, right? There's mamzer, there's no kedushin. And then the next shita was Rabbi Yeshevav, who sort of disapproved. He said, no. Rabbi Akiva is even more machmer. Look, any sort of lav, right? You, Rabbi Simoy, are maintaining that Rabbi Akiva considered a lav problematic, but not, only if it's kuna-related lav, that's not so terrible. That was Rabbi Simoy's approach. So a lav is a problem. But kahuna-related lav, Rabbi Akiva does not treat that so severely. And Rabbi Sheva sort of responded to that and said, no, it goes even more than that. It goes even further. Rabbi Akiva takes a very broad approach. Any sort of Isser, even a Kohen-related lav, has the same halach, right? That's one way to learn Rabbi Simai, Rabbi Sheva. He's coming to add to Rabbi Simai. Not only an ordinary lav, but even a kahuna-related lav, which is sort of a more restricted and limited lav, still Rabbi Akiva treats it the same like every lav. That's one way to learn. But let me ask you a question. What about Isra Aseh? He's speaking about a lav, which is more severe than Aseh. Let's say there would be an Isra Aseh to marry this Isha. She comes from Mitzrayim, from Edom. Perhaps even according to Rabbi Shevav. Rabbi Akiva would maintain that's okay. It's not a mamzer, there's a tfisas kedushin, because he's only speaking about a lav. So according to that approach, according to that way of learning Rabbi Shevav's position, you can rightfully conclude that if it's only an asay, then you're safe. So although it's asr, but we don't treat it like the same, like a lav. There's kedushin and there is no mamzer. So that's an example of an issue who's asher, but not to the point that there's no kedushin. Fine. But let's say you take a different approach. You learn Rabbi Shevav's argument differently. Rabbi Sheva was just getting up and saying his own thing. He wasn't responding to Rabbi Simai. Rabbi Simai was speaking about Lavin. He wasn't responding to Rabbi Simai. He wasn't necessarily trying to add directly to Rabbi Simai's words. He was just getting up and saying his own personal, independent interpretation of Rabbi Akiva. You should know that any sort of Isser would be Asr according to Rabbi Akiva, to the point that it's a Mamzer, to the point that there's no Kedushin. Right? Again, Ha-nichal Rabbi Shevav. This would work. What is this? This point that we're making, that an Isra Aseh is not as severe, that works. If Rabbi Sheva was just trying to add to Rabbi Simai. Rabbi Simai spoke about a universal Isra lav, and he was coming to add a lav which is kahuna related. Even that's included in Rabbi Akiva's basket. Sharper. Okay, so then you can conclude that maybe if it's only an Aseh, it doesn't carry the same consequence. But let's say Rabbi Sheva was just presenting his own personal approach to Rabbi Akiva. And he said as follows: any sort of inappropriate interaction, according to Rabbi Akiva, generates mamzer, and there's no kedushin. And even if it's just an asay, it's in the same boat. But now we're really stuck. According to Rabbi Akiva, any sort of forbidden interaction is treated the same. There's no kedushin, there's mamzer. So we were looking for a case where it's asr, but there's still kedushin. It doesn't exist. It does exist. An isr asay, which is strictly kahuna related. Here's an example. If an isha is a non-besula, and now this fellow who was ma'anas her was a kohen gadol. So she's asr to him because of the asay. A kohen gadol is meant to marry a besula. So she's asr, but it's not in the same basket as all the other Yisur. Even Rabbi Akiva would agree in this case there's kedushin and there's no mamzer. Ma'ishna, why is this different? Because it's a kahuna related asay. It's the bottom of the ladder. Ma'ishna dahavali asay she'ena shava b'koil. It's not a universal asay. It's a very limited asay pertaining only to kaihanim gedolim. So there's no mamzer, and theoretically kedushin would work. So bottom line is, we were looking for an example. Give me a case where she's asher, but there is still kedushin, and that would be the nafkamina between the two shitas. Shimon Timni says knas only applies when there's kedushin, so knas and kedushin are interdependent. So in this case here, yes, knas would apply because there is kedushin. Whereas according to Rav Shimon Manasseh, knas is linked to heter. She has to be roy to him. In this case, she's asher to him. So what do we learn today? We seem to have three shitas basically. Our Mishnah maintains that knas applies to involvement with an isha, whether she's mutter to him, or asr to him by way of lav, asr to him by way of karis. He still has to pay up, even though he can't follow through with the directive of the pasuk of v'lo yisei isha, So even though it's just a partial fulfillment, he's chayiv, and we actually learn it from Psukim. Then we have Shimon HaTimni, who says it depends on whether or not he can have Kedushin with this Isha. And then we have Shimon Menashe, who says depends on whether or not he's Roy for her. What would be an example of an Isha where Kedushin can apply but she's still Aser? A Chayav Ilavin. Right? Or, according to Rabbi Kiva, we found other examples, because the Chayav Ilavin wouldn't work according to him. She's Aser and there's no Kedushin. But perhaps a lav which is only Kuna related. Or perhaps, we have another option, an Asay. Or as we concluded, according to all Shittas, according to all versions of Rabbi Kiva, the following would provide a good example of Asr but still Kedushin, which is an Asay that's only Kahuna related, such as Bu'ula L'Kohen Gadol. All the best to you and much Hatzlacha.